Hi friends, this is Rama from Rama Dagelos. In today's video, I would like to tell you a moral story about the art of giving. It was still Saturday afternoon. Sri Krishna was resting in his chambers with his head propped up against a pillow and his legs falling off his bed. His room was exquisitely decorated with the finest of carvings and the smell of jasmine lingering in the air. Shyama, his servant, had just sprayed a little more jasmine water to reduce the heat inside the room and to remove the musty smell of sweat. It was just at his time that Duryodhana barged in, without knocking or asking for an appointment to meet the Lord. Shyama didn't like the young Duryodhana. He thought him to be arrogant and selfish. He also didn't approve of the amount of time Sri Krishna gave to Duryodhana. However, it wasn't his place to say anything at all. "Hello Duryodhana, what can I do for you?" Krishna asked amicably, but with mild surprise on his face. "Oh Lord, I have come to pay you a visit, to inquire after your well-being and to ask you if you needed anything," he said, folding his hands but not bowing his head completely as one was expected to do while greeting an adult. Shyama noticed this and made a mental note to teach Duryodhana a lesson. Krishna smiled and said, "That's very kind of you, but I am as comfortable as anybody can be. I have got a roof over my head and a warm bed to sleep in. Thank you anyway." He turned to Shyama and said, "Duryodhana has travelled a long distance and is definitely fatigued. Can you please bring him a glass of buttermilk and a few dry fruits? It will help in refreshing him." After a few moments, Shyama returned with a tray carrying a huge glass of cool fresh buttermilk and a bowl of the most exquisite nuts, which had been presented to Krishna by a travelling nomad. "Nuts for a nut," muttered Shyama as he walked away. Duryodhana and Krishna entered into a deep conversation about the neighboring kingdoms and the administration of the various districts, the spending of the treasuries, and the celebrations of Dhritarashtra's upcoming birthday. "I heard Karna gave away his shield and his earrings to Lord Indra, who had come in disguise a beggar," Duryodhana said, draining his drink. "That's no surprise. That boy has a heart of gold," Krishna replied. "How could you say so? There are so many other noblemen and kings who have hearts of gold too." While that is in fact true, Duryodhana, nobody is as giving as Karna is. He epitomizes the virtue of generosity. But that's rather unfair. I give away so many gold coins every day to the masses. I feed all the Brahmins of the city and I pay my servants grandly. Is this not a form of generosity too?" questioned Duryodhana belligerently. "It's the way that you give, Duryodhana, and not just the mere act of giving which is important." "Well, I don't understand you. Let's settle this, shall we?" asked Krishna. Duryodhana agreed. They set out for a walk towards a village. When they were halfway there, Krishna stopped Duryodhana and created 3 mountains of gold with a flick of his index finger. "Now I want you to distribute this gold as quickly as you can," Krishna said. Duryodhana readily agreed. He sat on a small stool next to a heap of gold, guarding it. First of all, along came a young boy. Duryodhana beckoned him to come closer. He carefully looked at his worn face and tattered clothes. He thought he could do with quite a large share of gold. He filled the little boy's hands, which as much gold as they could hold. He filled the boy's pockets with gold as well. The boy was happy. Next along came a group of men. They were dressed in finery and had exquisitely curved umbrellas with them to protect themselves from the harsh rays of the sun. Duryodhana thought they didn't need too much. They looked healthy and well fed. "Oh, respected ones," he called out of them, "why are you sitting here with 3 mounds of gold beside you, sir?" asked one of the men. Duryodhana looked up sharply at him. "That's none of your business," he said acidly. The sun was at its zenith and Duryodhana was dehydrated, hot and tired. "I have a proposition to make," he said, calming down a little. "I give you as much gold as your little bags can carry, and in return, one of you must give me your fine umbrella." He filled all their bags to the brim with gold. They thanked him for his graciousness and moved on. Duryodhana dozed off, only to be woken up by the gentle sound of anklets. He looked up to see a young maiden coming his way with a pot on her head. She had a beautiful but tired and worn-out face. Her clothes looked old and dirty. "Oh, fair one," he called out to her. She looked at him in surprise, but approached him with caution. He felt sorry for her. He decided he would give her as much gold as she could hold. He filled her empty pot with gold and then he filled the small purse that she produced with more gold. She thanked him over and over again. This meant her days of working as a milkmaid were over, and she could finally buy herself and her father a nice house and even have a servant to do their work for them. People came and people went, and every time Duryodhana gave, he gave what he thought the person required. Days passed this way, and when Duryodhana wanted to measure his progress, he looked at the heap of gold he was sitting next to expectantly. He was disappointed to see that it still towered above him, giving out a golden glow and shimmering in the sunshine. He was exhausted but determined to go on. Many years passed and Duryodhana was still stuck on his first pile of gold. Exasperated and exhausted, he surrendered to Krishna. "I can't do this anymore. It's too tedious a task and my bones are aching. I give up," he said submissively. "That's a shame, Duryodhana," Krishna said. "Let's see how Karna does it through," Duryodhana said, sniggering. Krishna called for Karna, who appeared as soon as he could. He stood with his hands folded, head bent respectfully. "You summoned me, Lord?" he asked. Krishna took Karna to the very same village and presented him with those very same mountains of gold. "Here, I want you to give these away as fast you can," he said. Krishna and Duryodhana sat down to watch. After a while, 3 Brahmins came walking along. They were on their way home for lunch after their morning rituals. Karna touched their feet and first sought their blessings. "May you live long, my child," they said in unison. He addressed all of them together. "Here are 3 mountains of gold that were entrusted to me. My task is to distribute them as quickly as possible. I would like to give one of the mountains to each of you." The Brahmins were overjoyed. They blessed him generously and turned to face the huge mountains of gold that they had now been entrusted with. Karna turned to Krishna, who was glowing with pride. He turned to Duryodhana and said, "He took a few hours. You took a few years. Do you want to know what the difference is? Giving is an act that is not easy. It requires the full presence of the heart. To give you only need a heart, and to receive, you only need a mind. So, unless you have a clean, warm heart, giving is never an easy task. Thanks for watching my video.